What is up, everybody? Shauna D Man here, and welcome back to the channel. Hope you guys are doing great. Hope you guys had yourselves a great week getting ready for the weekend. We are here with our episode 3 review of Star Trek Strange New Worlds. And before we jump into all that, if you're new to the channel, be sure you hit that like and subscribe button. Also, it should, by the time you're watching this, it should be announced on most of my platforms. But Saturday, September 20th, we are having a cosplay night on the channel, inviting some friends of mine who are cosplayers, about 8 people in total. So technically 10 people in total, plus me and the co-host. So it is going to be a fun night for sure that you don't want to miss at all. But other than that, let's get into this episode 3 review. And it picks up with, everybody going about their business and everything like that. Because if you remember in episode 2, this was kind of a continuation for Ortegas, because at the end of episode 2, we saw that she is basically suffering from PTSD after the event with the Gorn, which plays a lot of parts into what's going on as this episode goes on. But more importantly, Captain Batel, the Gorn in her body is starting to become active again, basically, and they've exhausted all possible things to do, because if they don't do something, she is going to die by this Gorn. And so they come up with a plan, or at least Spock does, of a research Federation research facility on Confori, where they were testing engineering and things like that. And there is a particular flower, the Chimera Blossom, that could potentially help rid the Gorn. But the problem is, it's basically in a restricted no-fly zone, because both the Klingons and the Federation at the end of the war both decided to just not enter the planet's system, leave it as is. And so the plan is originally for Spock and M'Benga to go down, get the flower, beam back up and save Batel. But Pike, being Pike, basically says, "No, I'll go. No offense, Mr. Spock, but if I get caught, it falls on me." And M'Benga makes a little cheeky joke talking about, "I'm Captain, I'm insulted," and he's like, "Oh, you never get caught. You never get caught." And M'Benga's like, "I never get caught." So that is the plan. So they have to be careful, because entering this system is going to break treaties with the Klingons and things like that. And so what she's going to do, or what they're going to do, is fly a shuttle from Enterprise down to the planet. That shouldn't trigger anything like that at all. So they should be able to get down there, get out, grab it, and get back on Enterprise before anyone's the wiser. But as they're making their way to the planet's surface, there is a communication beacon that is pretty much active on the planet, that's telling people to stay away and things like that as a warning. They land. One of the things that they point out is that there's no life whatsoever on the planet, like no animals, no nothing. The tricorders are not picking up any kind of life form whatsoever on this planet. They do find what seems to be the remains of a Klingon with its chest basically bursted wide open, as if something popped out of it. But obviously they make their way to the research facility to grab where Spock believes the Chimera Blossom was being held. And so they go in. Places obviously been deserted for quite some time. Power is still relatively active with it, but who knows how long it'll last out. And then they do find the Blossom, but M'Benga tells them, be careful, there's no telling, let's be protective, wear face mask, gloves, all the whole 9 yards, just to be sure that we're safe as possible about this. And Pike basically wants Mbanga to give it to him straight. Can this help Batel? And Mbanga is just, is like, yes, this can potentially help her. Um, it's something we can at least try and things like that. And Mbanga's like, as a doctor, he can't reveal information in regards to his patients, which is understandable. But Pike's like, I'm not asking, not as your captain, but as your friend. You could tell he very much deeply cares about what's could potentially happen to Marie if this doesn't work and things like that. And Vegas is like, it'll work. We'll make it work. And essentially, meanwhile, back on Enterprise, they are just kind of just hovering around there, just waiting till Mbanga and Pike are back when a Klingon battle cruiser enters the space because it's picked up by Ortegas. Because Ortegas mentioned that they did this trick during the war where they would hide themselves behind EM radiation. And she was able to pick that out. And there is a shuttle flying towards the planet. They can't raise Mbanga, they can't raise Pike, and so they have to just sit tight and wait for something. But in the meantime, definitely have to draw the attention of the Klingons because the Klingons don't know they're there. So meanwhile, so we go back down to the planet. They find the Blossom, and they're getting ready to head out when the Klingon ship, basically a shuttle, comes down, blows up their shuttle, and it's like, oh well, now we're here. We kind of seen that a little bit of parts from this episode in the trailer itself, but the part where they blew up the shuttle, we did see that in the trailer. And so 3 Klingons come down, 2 male, 1 female, and they go hunting for Pike and Mbanga. So it gets into a situation where they get into a bit of a scuffle, into a firefight with them, and they're cornered, and it looks like things are, going to end horribly for them. When just out of nowhere, these zombified Federation and Klingons appear out of nowhere and just start devouring one of the Klingons, and everybody just scatters at this point, and they hold themselves up into a basically the main control room, and the shuttle's gone, so they have to use the antenna array, which is on the roof, but it's going to be tough getting past all those zombies. But Mbanga's like, they're not zombies. Don't use that word. Basically, these are Federation and Starfleet, or Federation and Klingon, and they are technically dead, which is why the scanners didn't pick up on them, because they are dead. And we go through what happened, what they were doing, and things like that. Klingons came in, guns a-blazing, no decorum for how things are done, and the Chimera Blossom genes that they were working on enter the air, mixed with the blood of everybody in the area, and we get the zombie people, basically. And so meanwhile, we also learned that we learned that they were keeping secrets from Pike, because again, originally it was supposed to be Spock and Mbanga coming down to get the Chimera Blossom, but we learn that they are, instead of getting rid of the Gorn, all they can try to do is basically hybrid Batel and the Gorn. That is the best thing that they can do in order for her to survive this, because if they don't do it, she just has days before the Gorn inside her fully materializes and kills her. And so Pike is clearly upset about this, because everybody knew about this except for him. And he realizes, oh, that's why it was supposed to be you and Spock, because if you two came down here and did this, I wouldn't have known about it. or at least I wouldn't know about the treatment that you were going to do. And it is a tough situation. And back on Enterprise, the plan is they're going to go relatively slow on impulse power to get within the planet's surface and not get detected by the Klingons, so they can try to beam up Pike and Mbenga. Ortega, again, the stuff that's happened with her, not only with the Gorn but with the Klingons as well. She gets very aggressive here, and she's just like, "Why are we playing nice with the Klingons? Why are we?" It's like she's questioning Una's decisions pretty much at every turn point, and it's just kind of like it's like it's very very touchy. Like Una says she did pass her psyche val and stuff like that, but because she's talking to La'an about this, you know better than anyone what an encounter like this with the Gorn is like. So the plan is it's going to take about 4 hours, but they're going to just fly on impulse power to get in range to try to get in contact and beam them out. On the planet, the zombies come in, burst through the room, start overwhelming everybody until the other two Klingons show up. One gets bit, gets killed, make their way up to the roof, and kind of what we to wrap up towards the end of it, what we learn is this female Klingon is the daughter of Ambassador Ra, which was in season 2 of Star Trek: Strange New Worlds. This was the episode that did more of a backstory on Mbenga and Ra too, for the most part. And she's basically there for revenge because of what Ra did. Him being a trainer tarnished their Klingon blood family name, and so the only way to restore it is to kill Ra. Well, he's already been killed by Mbenga, who Mbenga does admit to assassinating Ra because Ra was a bad person. He caused massive genocides and stuff like that, and he did what he felt was what was the most just way of going about it. And because at the end of the episode in season 2, we don't really see what happened. We see them both, Ra and Mbenga, struggling with a knife, and we just know that Ra ends up dying. We don't know if Mbenga did it or Ra did it intentionally. And obviously Pike questions Mbenga about it, and he just says, it was an accident, things like, or at least something along those lines. But while the conversation is going on about the blood feud and Mbenga and Ra on Enterprise, as they're making their way, the Klingons detect Enterprise, and so now they have to switch gears and go with what Ortega's plan. Now, Ortega's plan was to basically hyper warp their way into the bottom thermosphere of the planet, thus getting us relatively close enough to be able to transport both Mbenga and Pike back on the Enterprise and get out of there before the Klingons attack them. So that while that plan is going on, a fight between Mbenga and Ra's daughter ensues. Mbenga does get the upper hand, but decides not to kill her. In order to restore her honor, she basically sacrifices herself. She draws the zombies to her, killing as many as she can, while Pike and Mbenga get beamed onto Enterprise and out of there. And Pike's like, no one would know about what she did. And Mbenga says, she'll know and I'll know. And so they whoop out of there. It was good. It was a good ending. It was a good episode. And then we pick up with what we learn is that at a certain point, as Enterprise was making their way to the planet on that low impulse power, Ortega's intentionally went maybe a little bit faster than what it was supposed to, which drew the attention of the Klingons, thus then enacting having to do her plan of getting Pike and Mbenga, and Una's not happy about it. And so she takes Ortega's off the active duty roster for the next 2 weeks. She has to basically do a class on command chain and stuff like that with the warrant officer. And she tells Ortega's this can't happen again, because Ortega's was insubordinate. She questioned Una's orders in front of everybody on multiple occasions throughout the episode. She did something that went against the orders of what Una wanted, and right now Ortega's is in a tough spot. She has a lot going on with her and everything. She's had bad experiences with the Klingon, the Gorn. So right now she is, and even La'an mentions it earlier in the episode, she's not insubordinate. She could be rude sometimes and stuff like that, but the events of everything that has happened to her, because Ortega's was upset because at a certain point it was going to be about 4 hours to get to Pike and Mbenga. Then they had to change it to 6 hours, and Ortega's is like, do you know what can happen in 6 hours and things like that? Obviously she is referring to what just happened with the Gorn 3 months ago. So she is still dealing with PTSD and everything in regards to that. So I'm curious on if it's going to come up again later on in the season. So that is going to be interesting to keep an eye out for. Meanwhile, we wrap up the episode with Pike talking with Batel about how everybody on the ship knew about it, pretty basically, and Pike didn't. And she's like, I didn't tell you this because I know how you are. You know, you would have tried to find an alternative way. This is her choice, and it's the choice that she wants to go with. And obviously Pike is he is understanding, but he wanted to be, like, at least have the option to say, I support your choice no matter what it is, and things like that. And we'll have to just wait and see what happens in regards to this, because that was a very, very intensive episode, intensive moment, because we kind of know she's going to be fine, because we do see her a little bit later on. This may be what episode 4 might allude to, but we do see her and Pike in one of the trailers standing at like kind of a gate. So it'd be interesting to see on if that is the next episode, or how long they kind of drag this out in regards to her Gorn situation. I'm curious to see on how that plays out as well. But other than that, guys, that's pretty much it for the episode. Hope you guys liked it. I enjoyed it. I thought it was a very fun episode. We got zombies in Star Trek. I thought that probably not the first time. It's happened before too. I think season 4 of Enterprise, or maybe season 3. Maybe it might have been season 3 of Enterprise. No, might have been season 4 of Enterprise, when they go into basically the expanse after the what are they called? After Earth is attacked. They go into like the expanse of space, and they encounter like zombie Vulcans and things like that. But yeah, very fun episode. Really liked it. Love the zombies and everything about it. But that's relatively it for this episode. Thank you guys for hanging out. Thank you guys for watching. Like I said, be sure you hit that like and subscribe button, comment below, and stay tuned for more updates in regards to the Cosplay Night live stream event in September. But other than that, you guys have a great one, and I will see you in the next video.